Hello, welcome to another Blender tutorial. Today, a Cyberspace-esque Skybox. Before we begin, Edit, Preferences, Add-ons. Make sure you have Node Wrangler enabled. First thing, Shift-A, add a cube. Go over to UV editing. We're going to add a new image. This will be the texture that we bake to. It needs to be a 6:1 aspect ratio, so I'm going to set mine to 2048 by 1536. That's 1536. Okay. This image will come out a bit skewed, that's okay. Rotate it by -90. Go into the UV menu, constrain to image bounds. Press S, then X, and scale it. Hopefully it should be a bit more square. Next up, select the cube. We're going to add a couple of modifiers. We're going to add subdivision, and we're going to add cast. For subdivision, switch over to simple, and it has to be simple for this, and then set the levels viewport to 6. As for the cast, set the factor to 1, and then set the radius to 5. This needs to be as round as possible, otherwise it's going to look really wrong. Now we go to the shading tab. Actually, before you do that, apply the modifiers. Although you could wait to do it after you've shaded if you want. In the shading tab, get your material. I'm deleting the BSDF and replacing it with an emission shader. You can use a diffuse shader or even keep using the BSDF if you want, but I find this gives the best result for the thing that we're going for here. Shift A, add a geometry node. And Shift A again, and add a separate XYZ node. Put the position into it. And Shift A again, add a map range. Map range. Shift Control click onto the map range to get a preview of what we're doing. I'm going to give it the following values: -70, 97, 1, and 20. Next, Shift A, add a wave texture, and hook it up. You want to hook it up into the scale. Add the following values: 0, 15, 10, 0, and 0. With the wave texture selected, press Ctrl T, Ctrl T, and move the mapping into Object. It's going to look a little weird, but that's okay. Shift A, add a value, and then hook that value into the scale, and I'm going to set it to 0.1. You can set it to whatever you feel like. Back on the wave texture, instead of X, set it to Z. Okay. Shift D to duplicate the map range. Add it after the wave texture. Set the value. I'm setting the values to 0, 2, 0, 2. After that, add a color ramp. Now I'm going to go for a very crisp look, so I'm going to move the blacks and the white very close to each other until I get something that's very crisp and very... something like this. And I can adjust it, so if I want to make the black smaller, I can move it further back. But I'm going to leave it at around here. Shift D to duplicate the color ramp, and here you add your actual colors. I'm going to go with a nice orange, and I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to make that red, just to give a nice red highlight on the edges here. You don't have to do this, but I quite like it. Okay, back with the texture coordinates. Add another separate XYZ node. Put the generated field into it. And duplicate the color ramp. And put the Z coordinate into it. This is going to control where the lines stop on the sphere. Next, we're going to add a mix node. And I'm going to switch it to color. I'm going to take this top color ramp and put it into the factor. I'm going to take our lines and put it into A, and I'm going to make B black. I'm going to change it from mix into darken. As you can see, as I adjust the color ramp, the lines stop where I want them to. I'm going to stop them around there. Finally, hook it up to the emission, and you're good to go. Next comes the baking part. Add an image texture, and select our Skybox image. Now when you're baking, you need to be in cycles. I would recommend setting the max samples to 10 for rendering.
Any ideas?
And in the bake section, set it to emit, and set the margin size to 0. If you don't, it will break the texture and it won't look correct. Once you're done with that, press bake and give it a minute. Okay, once your texture is done baking, it should look something like this. Save it where you need it. I'm going to be saving it in the folder where the Unity project is. And once that's saved, move over to Unity. Okay, once you're in Unity, go to where your texture is. The type is default. Set the shape to cube, and set the mapping to 6 frames layout. Do what you want with the filter mode and the compression. I'm setting mine to no filter and no compression. Next, go over to materials. I've already set up this material called Cyberspace Sky. Set the shader to Skybox and Cube Map. And then go and find your Skybox. Once you have the material, you can either drag it into the scene, or go over to Window, Rendering, Lighting, go to Environment, and you can change the Skybox material there. As you can see, the reason why it needed to be as round as possible was that it needed to look correct here. If you don't use simple, if you use Capmol Clark instead of simple, it will look incorrect in Unity. So you would have gotten like weird edges along the sides here. Okay, there you go. There is a somewhat basic Cyberspace-esque Skybox. It's a little low resolution here, but you can set it to a higher resolution, and you can probably add a little bit more to the sky part and maybe a bit more in the background. That's it from me. You can follow me on Twitch at Sergeant Adman. Check out my gaming channel as well. Check out my itch.io page. There's a few games on there. There's some assets as well. And you can throw money at me on Ko-fi if that's something you want to do as well. And I will see you guys next time.